two real motivations for the revision, and the are two sources of advice and guidance, and the one is other teachers, and that perhaps is our strongest one. But the other is the exam itself. So in chapter 2, for instance, what Robin was talking about in terms of the different kinds of texts, the exam itself has moved away from a purely stylistic analysis in the sense of something like Annie Dillard, much as we like Annie Dillard, but that lyrical style, that beautiful poetic style. I always think the one that really shifted for me was some years ago when there was a close reading question on President John Kennedy, and that he was speaking to
the steel worker.
The steel worker. He was speaking. It was a press conference,
right,
and it was
about the
rise in steel prices, and it was much more focused on the method of argument
right.
than it was on the metaphor or the pacing of the syntax.
There is
those
no
things.
figurative language in that at all.
Exactly. And so even though that's a different kind of close reading, it's difficult to do. And I think both chapter 2 in the revision and chapter 3 are supporting that kind of analysis. This year it was Clare Boothe Luce. The year before it was Margaret Thatcher, a eulogy for Ron Reagan. Again, these are pieces that the style is important, but there's also evidence in there. And this evidence-based writing, whether it's the SAT, the ACT, or the AP, is now where much of our instruction is going.
Right. I was just going to say that the sample that we use, the model that we use now in Chapter 2 is Shirley Chisholm's speech to Congress, which is around the same time as the Kennedy speech, actually. But it's quite nuanced, it's quite complex, and we go through the steps, writing a thesis about it, and then developing an argument.
Yeah, and the Shirley Chisholm is a good example because the College Board has two overarching goals for this AP language class. The one is informed citizenry, and the other is critical literacy. And so we're very mindful of those two, and particularly given the political climate right now, the civil discourse is so important. But those two overarching goals, I think, guided us at every step, whether it's revising an opening chapter, is this sufficient instruction that's going to lead directly or indirectly to the achievement of those goals, and are these texts that whose discussion and close analysis will also contribute to the achievement of those goals. So there were several ways in which we approached this revision. As I said, enormous numbers of comments from teachers, really detailed analysis of teachers, some who were using the book, some who were not, but all AP teachers, all AP language teachers. And then again, looking at the results from the test, looking at the trends we're seeing on the test. And so the changes in some ways in those opening chapters seem a little subtle, but they were very deliberate.